Part 2. Manifest. Destiny. Kami rushed to Tien's side as he groaned and opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was Raditz on one knee, clutching the bleeding stump of his thumb, with Maul standing over him, the flame of the ship behind him, making him a shadow. Krillin staggered up next, clutching his bruised chest. Yamcha followed shortly, his arm broken and his ribs cracked, each of them staring in stunned silence. Tien whispered, How did you?" Maul answered in a steady, clinical tone. "When I found Raditz, his armor indicated he was a battle-class warrior. His muscle density showed he belonged to a species raised on 7 to 10 times this planet's gravity. His aggressive nature made him predictable." Maul's red eyes narrowed. "And the nanobombs in his bloodstream now ensure he remains under my control." Everyone stiffened. Having Raditz bound to Maul's will was like having a loaded cannon pointed at their heads at all times. Maul glanced at the ruined hull of his spacecraft. "It appears my vessel is destroyed. I will require repairs and accommodations." He looked toward Bulma and Kami. Bulma swallowed hard, then stepped toward the wreckage. "I might be able to rebuild it, maybe in 6 to 9 months. Maul growled, low, dangerous. "I am needed elsewhere." His thoughts flicked to Naboo, to Sidious, to his mission, his destiny, his empire. But Bulma raised her hands. "This is new technology. I have to custom build every replacement part from scratch. 6 months is fast." Maul considered this. Perhaps the Force intended this detour. Let Sidious continue his designs. Maul would return stronger, with new power. He nodded once, sharply. "Very well." Maul then looked to Kami, who stared at him warily, then at Raditz, still bleeding and scowling. "You may stay," Kami said slowly, "but that Saiyan cannot." Raditz barked, "Where am I supposed to go? I can't leave. This demon will blow my head off, and I happen to like my head." Maul said nothing. The threat hung clearly in the air. Kami sighed reluctantly. "I'll arrange something for you both. Mr. Popo, if you be so kind." The Jinn appeared next to Raditz and passed Maul's sense. "Gentlemen, if you would follow me." Maul looked at him. Those eyes, like looking into the void. No rage, no anger, no passion or joy. Just. Before he could finish his thoughts, he spoke again. He followed him to the rooms. The Z-fighters looked at each other grumbling, but had no choice but to accept the terms of the agreement. Days passed into weeks. Maul meditated for hours at a time, his connection to the Force deepening in this empty galaxy. Raditz healed the old-fashioned way. Maul had cauterized the wound from his missing thumb with a lightsaber. The Z-fighters used senzu beans and resumed training, keeping a suspicious eye on Maul and Raditz alike. On the 3rd week, Raditz was fully healed, and his Saiyan biology rewarded him with a Zenkai boost, raising his power to 2,100. He sat on the edge of the platform, mocking the humans, a scouter pinging reading of each of the fighter. "You're all doomed. When my partners arrive, you insects will die instantly." More time passes. The boredom soon gnawed at him. He needed to fight. One afternoon, he stood up suddenly. "I need a fight. I'll even let you gang up on me. 4-on-1 seems fair." Before anyone could react, Raditz lunged at Krillin, who barely dodged. Yamcha intercepted with counter-strikes. Tien hammered him from the side. Their blows didn't hurt Raditz, but they were learning, growing, adapting. Maul watched all of it, silently analyzing every movement. The next day, Raditz fought them again. And the next, and the next. One evening, Raditz approached Maul during his meditation. "My partners will kill you. You might as well let me go. I don't need to mention this world." Maul opened his eyes slowly. "From what I have gathered, your race values power above all else, and you appear to be the weakest of your comrades. If you return having failed, they will likely kill you. Your Saiyan social structure is very similar to the Sith. If you were born in my world, you would have been killed as a child." Raditz paused. Vegeta had said exactly that, coldly, without hesitation. Realization washed over him. He wasn't safe anywhere, except here. From that day on, Raditz trained harder, brutally, relentlessly, almost like a desperate man clinging to survival. 6 months in, Maul visited Bulma's improvised repair workshop. The hyperdrive systems were functional, but the hull was still missing. "I need more time," Bulma said. 3 months, maybe less, if I can replicate the alloys." Maul returned to the lookout annoyed, but resigned. These elite Saiyan are to arrive in 6 months. He has grown stronger in the Force, but Maul doesn't want to be caught off guard if they arrive sooner. He started training with the humans. He quickly realized something alarming. They were faster, stronger, more conditioned than he was physically. He had relied on his mastery of the Force for so long, but his body had slipped behind. Yet as he trained, his connection to the Force surged. Here, alone in a galaxy devoid of Jedi and Sith, the entire wellspring whispered to him. By the 7-month mark, Kami guided the fighters to the pendulum room so they could face visions of their worst fears. Unlike in the original timeline, the humans were now dramatically stronger. Sparring with Raditz, a ruthless, relentless opponent, had pushed them beyond their limits. Krillin, Yamcha, Tien, and Chiaotzu all hovered near 1,100. Raditz had climbed to 2,500, mostly because the humans no longer provided real challenge. Maul, relying more on the Force than physical training, remained around 700, but his spiritual power was terrifying. The pendulum room, first true test. Inside they felt for the first time the crushing pull of 10 times Earth's gravity. Raditz walked as if it were normal. The others strained, but held their ground. Maul, more used to augmenting his body with the Force, adapted quickly. Then the images of 2 feral Saiyan materialized. Raditz folded his arms and watched, amused, as the Z fighters were overwhelmed. But because of their months sparring with Raditz, they understood the Saiyan fighting style. Blitz attacks, tail feints, feigned retreats. Maul leapt in, using the Force to crush illusions of elite Saiyan warriors. His movements were precise, deadly, almost feral. When the exercise ended, the fighters were shaken, but eager to train again. Mr. Popo asked Kami about the time chamber, but Kami shook his head. It is too soon. The room would break them. The ship test. 8 months after Maul's arrival, Bulma finally returned with the repaired ship, landing it on the lookout. Maul and Raditz boarded. Bulma piloted it into the upper atmosphere, then into space to test its integrity. The hull held perfectly, but when she activated the hyperdrive, nothing. Maul's eye twitched. Bulma sighed. "I'll need to run more diagnostics. Something's not connecting. I'll take it back to the lab." Raditz laughed, making a derogatory statement about what women know about building things. Bulma glared at him, then started yelling at him. Maul analyzed her. The woman with no power, no strength, talks to a man 2 times her size and thousands of times stronger. Strange. 2 additional months passed. By now, the Z fighters and Maul could defeat simulated Saiyan elites in the pendulum room with coordinated efficiency. Their power levels had skyrocketed. Krillin, 3,000. Yamcha, 3,300. Tien, 4,000. Chaozu, 2,200. Maul, 3,000. Raditz, 6,000. Raditz, training again under high gravity, grew rapidly. The Zenkai boost from his near-death recovery and his constant sparring pushed him far beyond his former self. Yet he never challenged the nanobombs. He couldn't. In the last 10 months, something changed in him. He began to respect the humans, their determination, their willingness to keep fighting long after other species would have given up. During a quiet night on the lookout, Krillin, Tien, Yamcha told him stories about Goku, his little brother, who had redeemed villains and saved the world, echoing the stories that were told to Maul. Raditz felt a small, unfamiliar ember of pride. He finally revealed everything he knew. Vegeta and Nappa's exact power levels, strategies, fighting styles, even their favored kill techniques. The power level were from 2 years ago, the last he saw them. Nappa 5,000 and Vegeta near 14,000. And he didn't care if they died. They were always jerks to me, Raditz snorted. If you take them out, fine. Maul looked at Raditz. This pirate, mass murderer, is opening up, willing to die for a planet he was willing to destroy 10 months prior. He stared at the stars as he spoke. My master Sidious kidnapped me as a child. I was made to endure torture every day in the name of strength. He would break me and leave me to die on a world where droids assassins hunted me. He forced me to kill them, my friends, to prove my loyalty. Everyone fell silent. Maul's voice hardened. I was meant to be the ultimate weapon, the heir to a galactic empire. Raditz swallowed. Even Frieza hadn't tried to kill him daily. Tien finally asked, then why go back, to be a slave again? Maul shook his head slowly. No, to kill him, with my own hands, to prove I was better. Raditz chuckled softly. You would have made a fine Saiyan, too stubborn to die. He looked at Maul seriously. I understand wanting to face your tormentor. Vegeta and Nappa, they're mine. We can kill them with our power. Then we can go kill this Sidious, if that's okay with you, boss. Maul nodded in agreement. A few days later, Maul looked up at the sky as 2 Saiyan pods tore through the atmosphere like falling meteors. His senses, sharpened by months training with the Z fighters, felt the sheer murderous intent radiating from inside them. He floated upward without struggle. Flight had become natural to him. But there was still one aspect of this world he couldn't grasp. Chi projection. For all his mastery of the Force, he couldn't form a simple energy blast. Perhaps Ki is simply the Force by another name, he thought. And perhaps the beings of this world have an affinity I do not. Tien nodded at him, and together the fighters suppressed their power and flew toward the shredded remains of the ruined city where the pods had landed. Nappa's booming voice echoed across the rubble, proud of his work. The group arrived. There they are, Vegeta. Told you this would be easy. Maul and Raditz stood at the front as they touched down. Vegeta looked confused, then irritated. Well, looks like the useless runt survived after all, Nappa. Moments later, Piccolo and Gohan landed nearby. Gohan's eyes widened. Uncle Raditz? Piccolo scowled. So it was you I sensed. Raditz snorted. You did well, Namekian. You nearly killed me, if not for my benefactor. He nodded toward Maul, who met Piccolo's glare with an unreadable stare. Nappa stepped forward, annoyed. "Hey, Raditz, get over here or suffer the consequences like that idiot friend during the Raxius raid." Raditz's aura flared, far stronger than when he left. He scoffed. "You think I fear you, Nappa?" Before anyone could blink, Raditz launched himself forward and cracked Nappa across the jaw. The huge Saiyan staggered, blood trickling from his lip. Vegeta's eyes narrowed. 6,000? Almost as strong as you, Nappa. Nappa grinned. Good, then this might actually be fun. The two Saiyans clashed fiercely, shockwaves ripping through the city as they traded brutal blows. Vegeta, annoyed, reached into his armor and threw down the Cyberman seeds. "It'll give one of you the opportunity to survive. Where are the Dragon Ball?" Maul looked confused. The creatures sprouted in moments, but before they could rush forward, the Cybermen all laid on the floor dead as if being crushed. Maul smiled with his hands stretched out, force crushing them. Then the Z-fighters and Maul flared their energy. The scouter starts pinging. Tien, 4,300. Yamcha, 3,500. Piccolo, 3,500. Chaozu, 2,500. Krillin, 3,200. Maul, 3,300. Vegeta froze for half a breath. These power levels, they're a problem if they jump him. He made a tactical decision instantly. Kill the weakest first to break their morale. Before anyone could react, Vegeta blitzed across the field, appearing in front of Chaozu. A cruel smirk twisted across his face. "Goodbye, clown." His fist tore straight through Chaozu's chest. The tiny Emperor's eyes widened, then dimmed. He collapsed as Vegeta ripped his hand free, laughing maniacally, blood dripping from his arm. The Z-fighters gasped in horror as Vegeta floated back, smiling like the devil himself. Tien's scream tore through the battlefield. Chaozu, his closest friend, lay motionless in a widening pool of blood. The shock hit first, then the rage. Tien's aura blazed as he charged blindly at Vegeta. Off to the side, both Nappa and Raditz paused mid-strike, glancing over at the scene. For a flicker of a moment, even in the middle of their brawl, the sight registered. Raditz whisper, "Die well, Chaozu." Then the two Saiyans roared and slammed back into each other. Nappa powered up, his energy spiking to 7,200, and Raditz began losing ground fast under the renewed assault. It seems like the brute got stronger in the 2 years. Maul watched the tide turning and snapped toward Krillin. "Help Raditz. We need his strength." Krillin hesitated only a second before blasting forward toward the Saiyan brawl. Meanwhile, Tien reached Vegeta, only to be caught instantly. Vegeta's blood-soaked hand clamped around Tien's throat with terrifying ease, lifting him off the ground. "So emotional," Vegeta sneered. Tien clawed at Vegeta's arm, choking. Maul inhaled sharply. He felt the anger, the fear, the injustice. He fed off it. He let the dark side consume him. Dark power surged up his arms, electricity crackling at his fingertips. A jagged bolt of force lightning shot out, slamming into Vegeta's side and ripping him away from Tien. The Saiyan prince's body was hurled across the battlefield, crashing through the shattered remains of a building. Smoke curled from Maul's fingers as he turned to the others. "We fight as a team," Maul growled, eyes burning, "or we all end up like your friend." Tien, still coughing and shaking with fury, steadied himself beside the others. Piccolo stepped forward, Gohan trembling behind him. Yamcha and the rest took their stances, finally unified by the brutality they'd just witnessed. Across the field, Vegeta rose from the rubble, eyes glowing with murderous excitement. "This," he hissed, wiping blood from his mouth, "is going to be interesting."